Hi friends. If you want to check out what my recommendations are for the upcoming Sephora holiday bonus event while applying my recommendations, then please keep on watching. Hi, my name is Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for coming. And if you are returning, thanks for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between makeup, you can head over to my Instagram. Another sale event is upon us, friends. I feel like one had just passed, but this is what we're gonna do. In light of remaining authentic, because I know these recommendation videos can come off as pushy, as buy this, buy that, I simply just want to share my recommendations as they are heavily used in my makeup routine. If not every day, they are on heavy duty rotation. Okay, pretty much all makeup I will mention in this video has a corresponding review to it. So if you want more extensive description, insight, demos, swatches, you can simply type the brand and just type my name in the YouTube search bar and I will pop up with that makeup item. There's probably one makeup item that I'm recommending that I did not do a review for yet. I'm still looking to make it happen, but in case that I don't, I will just try to talk about it more here in this video. All timestamps will be down below. If you want to skip to a certain item, if you just want to see the list written out and just go to whatever product you have more interest in, then go ahead. Yes, these glasses are real, but we're gonna take them off. That's enough. How about some details about this event, Alicia? Well, let's talk about it. The holiday bonus event starts on November 1st. That is this Friday. There are 3 tiers in the Insider program. You have Rouge, VIB, and Insider. Rouge gets 20% off from November 1st to the 11th. I'm not too sure about VIB. There's conflicting information I've seen online. I'm not sure if VIB is also from the 1st to the 11th, but they get 15% off, or it's from the 7th to the 11th. Let me know down below. I'll put it down in a pinned comment. And the Insider just gets 10% from the 7th to the 11th. Rouge members, if you happen to find yourself in a Sephora on November 1st with a guest, your friend, your bae, also receives 20% off their purchase. If buying online, use code HOLIDAYSAVE at checkout or use that code at checkout in store. All details will be down below. Discount code, dates, and what have you. And also all shop links will be down below. And I never say this in a video, but I just want you to know, yes, I receive a commission off the links that you decide to use in the description box. It helps supports this channel because I'm thinking about getting a new mic. I might want to get a new camera down the line, and buying new makeup costs money if I don't receive it in PR. So that is what it goes to. If you do not feel comfortable using my shop link, you do not have to. No hard feelings. I just love that you're watching this video. So if you want to go directly to Sephora.com just through your browser and not my link, that is fine as well. Recommendations for Complexion. I've recommended this several times, but I'm going to mention it again. The Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I actually recommended this in like my, maybe it was the summertime Sephora video. This is in shade 3. I use this for highlighting cheekbones, above the brow, bridge of nose, and cupid's bow, but I recently bought number 5 tan, and this is what I use all over the face. You could also mix this with your foundation, and despite the shade you see in the bottle, it's not going to change the color of the foundation, but will positively influence the finish. Is going to give a blurring effect that's not going to necessarily cover your imperfections, but again, blur them so it just appears softer and less prominent on your face. This product is just beyond easy to use. It is so elegant in terms of the formulation, in terms of the packaging. This packaging is just outrageous. Cap, and you have a huge doe foot applicator that I feel is just ideal to apply this type of formula with. Not ideal for travel, like glass traveling, it could pose a lot of risk, but I think if you're just careful with how you wrap it, or maybe go without it for those few days that you're traveling, you'll be okay. What I like to do is to mix this with my recommended foundation. People don't like this foundation, but I'm recommending it because I've still been using it ever since I bought it. It's the Pat McGrath Sublime Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation. I finally decided that my shade is medium 16. I returned the 2. I did. you can yell at me down below. My other foundation I recommend is the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation, a broad spectrum of SPF 30. So I would not recommend that you photograph with this because people say anything with titanium dioxide could leave a white cast with the flash. But I feel Shiseido is really sophisticated in their formulations and had considered that while creating this product, so maybe that won't happen. I'm not too sure. Let's take our favorite primer on the back of our hand. The Shiseido, by the way, is in 360 Citrine. Take a little bit of the pats, and here we have our foundation concoction. Mix it all together and start applying. I like to use a sponge. This is the Sigma sponge. They were so nice to send to me. The Hollywood Flawless filter, again, does not change the color of the foundation, but it's just going to smooth it out and make it appear a lot more radiant. And people don't like the pat foundation because it has alcohol in it. I don't find the alcohol to be particularly irritating to my skin type, but if you're eczema prone or rosacea prone, yes, stay away from it. I like to combine Pat's foundation with others because I just feel it influences the dry down to just be more skin-like in finish. The Shiseido has great coverage while remaining lightweight, and for me, 360 Citrine and the Shiseido has been the best matching foundation shade I have ever encountered. And I've tried a lot of foundations in the past few months because, as you know, all these freaking foundations released like within the month's time, but I've been loving combining the Shiseido and the Pat. This is not to say that you have to buy both, but because I have purchased both from Sephora and have been using them extensively, I'm recommending them. And if you have both and you feel like you're not using them enough, slap these on together, friends. This is what it's about. When you have more than one foundation, take advantage and make a little cocktail, you know what I mean? I love the finish. It is so lightweight. I love the shade match. It is spot on. Recommendations for concealer. 2, actually, the Power Fabric from Giorgio Armani. I've spoken about several times. This is in the shade number 6. I love the finish. It's lightweight while providing a beautiful coverage. It doesn't look heavy under the eyes. This is slightly pinkier in undertone because the other foundation concealer I also recommend is the Shiseido Synchro Concealer. Now at $31 a pop, I think getting 20% off or 15% off will help with the hurt. I like to apply 303 as like a spot conceal, so if there are spots that need a little more coverage, I go in with the 303 medium, and I rely on 301 medium for under the eyes. I like to apply the Power Fabric lightly here and take 301 medium right in on the under eyes. I actually should have done this in reverse because I feel the Power Fabric is better at concealing my under eye darkness when I'm not messing up. I will put Shiseido on the majority of the under eye area because I love the undertone is a touch more golden than the Power Fabric, but the pinkiness from the Power Fabric I think is ideal for under the eyes. But since we're just mixing this all together, it'll be okay. I've been using these concealers non-stop. I've been combining them, using them on their own, and it's just ideal in terms of the coverage, the undertone. My under eyes look brightened, but they don't look crazily brightened out of place. And then of course lightly going over the 303 over my hyperpigmentation that just needs a little more coverage. And again, the Hollywood Flawless filter just helps with that blurring, so you don't have to add so much product if you want more coverage. So I'm really happy with how that looks. And then Hollywood Flawless filter in 3. This is not necessary, but I've been doing this, and man oh man, this formula makes it ideal to apply with fingers, brush, or sponge, and it just melts into the skin. It doesn't look glittery, it doesn't look overly shimmery, it melts and just provides that lit from within glow effect instantly. I like to apply this right after my concealer before setting, but if you happen to forget, the Flawless filter applies on powder like a dream as well. I don't know what's in this stuff, but it like behaves and plays along with whatever comes its way. We're looking flawless without looking too much. Recommendations for powders. I have quite a few. Let's see. The milk powders, I still recommend. They have avocado extract. They don't have talc. They have hyaluronic acid in here. Or is it sodium hyaluronate? one of those. If you're dry and you're looking for a powder that's not overly drying but very lightweight in consistency, I have the Milk Makeup Translucent in medium and in light. Light under the eyes, medium on the rest of my face. My tried and true ride or die Hourglass Translucent Veil. There's diamond powder in here, so it's going to leave behind a radiant finish without looking too heavy. Bake with this, you can set with a brush. I have been just lightly pressing the powder on with the sponge, not necessarily baking. So I take it on the tip of the sponge and just press off some excess. I make sure my concealer is properly blended and I just press it right under the eyes. And you see I'm staying away from the Hollywood Flawless filter because we're gonna set that with highlighter. You could also take a small tapered brush and just lightly pat down the Hourglass veil right under the eyes, and that's enough for me. I don't need more than that, and I just take some on the bridge of my nose and a little on the forehead. My other recommended powder, which no one likes either, is the Pat McGrath. I freaking love this powder for all over my face. I find it is best applied with a brush with the light hand. I don't think this is ideal to bake with. I think you will find the best finish if you take, let's say, I have been using my Sonji Master Face with whatever is on the lid. Now, I'll tell you this, the design for this powder is the worst. You just have a net. There's nothing to stop the powder from rising to the top, so be careful when you open it because it could be a disaster. Whatever powder I have on the bristles, I carefully tap off the excess and then pat down to just take away some of the dew from the foundation, which isn't very much. But because I don't really have time in the morning to wait for my foundation to dry down, I go in with the powder. And I can understand why people feel Pat's foundation is not great, because the point of having alcohol in the formula is that it dries down quicker, but it doesn't dry down as quick as, let's say, another foundation with alcohol in it. But I think that was because she wanted the foundation to dry more skin-like, and with an alcohol dry down finish, it might lean more towards matte instead of like natural satin. But it doesn't take much to set. You just need the littlest amount, and despite the fact that you don't get a whole ton, getting some dollars knocked off, I feel, will make it not as bad. For all over my face, because medium 3 I feel is just way too orange for me, and to put that shade under your eyes, no freaking way. The other powder, the last one, I promise, is the Shiseido Radiant, the Synchro Skin Invisible Silk Loose Powder in Radiant. I was just blown away by the design of this loose powder. It has a net that you press down to lift the powder up and out of the net. That's how it's dispensed. I like to use this sometimes for my under eyes. I like to set my face with it, or I like to set my whole face with it when I buff. I just think it's really lightweight. You also don't get a whole lot of product in here as well. I believe it's 6 grams. You get 6 grams in here, but you get 5 grams in Pat, and I think this is maybe like $38. Face is set. What do we do? Well, so as I mentioned, I like to set my Hollywood Flawless filter with a highlighter, and this is what I've been doing. My other recommendation, no surprise here, friends, is the Natasha Denona Tan Bronze and Glow. This is by far one of my most favorite face palettes of all freaking time. What I like to do here is take my sponge, if I could find it. We already have Flawless filter on, but this is excessive because I got to show you. I take the glow cream, I pat it down, and I think this is the best way to apply the cream base from this palette. I take the Glow Impact powder and I pat that down right on where we apply the cream base and the Hollywood Flawless filter. Look at that. I'm telling you, man. I particularly appreciate the finish left behind when I apply a gelée type of formula with the sponge. I feel the sponge picks up just the right amount of product. It lays it on the skin smoothly and just gorgeously. You got the glow without the texture. You know what I mean? Other highlighter that I highly recommend is the Charlotte Tilbury Bar of Gold palette. I had this in my top 5 video. This is just extraordinary. She managed to make a lightweight consistency powder while while delivering that glow and shine. I like don't know how she did it. I like to take my Soleil Neige Sculpt to put it across all bars and just pat it down. I mean, it's amazing. It's so lightweight, so easy to use, but it's so brightening and shiny, again, without relying on heavily textured glitter like particles or what have you. Is absolutely gorgeous. I cannot get enough. Bronzer. I have to mention this again. I haven't brought these out in a long time, but again, I highly recommend the Benefit Hoola Caramel. I think this tone is gorgeous. The Fenty Beauty bronzers, I think the texture is just so lightweight. It's like not a traditional powder type of consistency. It's like, I can't explain, there's not a lot of kick up in the pan, but I feel it just makes it really easy to apply and just looks beautifully skin-like in finish. The bronzer in the Natasha Denona face palette, this goes all the way up to NC50, so if you're around that skin tone and you're not sure if this is going to show up, it definitely will. I'm not too sure if the bronzer duo from Jouer is sold online because I know it's not in store, but if you want more like a skin-like finish that's a little more radiant in finish, this has some mica in it that's more prominent than, let's say, a typical matte bronzer that I think is going to give you a nice glow to the hollows of your cheeks, and this is especially beautiful to apply just to buff down the bronzer if it went a little too crazy, or mix the shades if you want to adjust the shades. Now recently I purchased the Charlotte Tilbury Filmstar Bronze and Glow, but in the medium deep. Now you and I know we need another duo for deep. I think this is good for medium tan, but it'll be nice if she released, I mean, who knows if she will. I know we all are very upset about the fact that we still have to talk about this, but it'll be really nice to have another duo that's more like deep to rich, right? Because although this is a beautiful shade, I feel this is definitely not going to show up on a lot of deeper skin tones, deeper than me. I technically could wear the first duo, but I feel I have to apply so much product for it to actually show. The glow side, I feel, serves more as like a blush topper shade because this is actually beautifully smooth and radiant and adds a nice flush to the cheeks. So I wouldn't rely on this color for a highlighter per se. I actually would apply it like on top of your favorite blush to give a little more brightness and shine. I feel you haven't seen this in action, so let's do that. I'm gonna take my Wayne Goss number 12 in with the bronzer shade from the Filmstar Bronzer Duo. Tap off the excess and just punch that on, baby. The color gets on there fast. I love the shade. It's like a neutral brown, but not too cool, and has just a little bit of warmth, just a touch. Consistency is incredibly easy to apply. It feels like I'm applying a cream product in powder form on my skin. This is definitely one of her most top selling items out of her whole makeup line. Like, the consistency of the Filmstar Bronze and Glow powders are just, it's just grammar hello extraordinary. It's so easy to apply. It melts into your skin, and if you need less, you could just buff it out. And for you to see the other shade, I'm going to take my Soleil Neige Inoche Gay Pro in with the highlighter shade, and just between the bronzer and the highlighter on the cheekbone, so it's a nice glow. Yeah, and it doesn't look overly shimmery on the face either. It has like a nice color to it, and of course when all has been applied, I just like to buff to smooth. Another complexion face product I like to recommend is of course her instant look in a palette for holiday. I would highly recommend that you check out Michelle Wong's channel because she actually has all the face palettes, and she even said that the eyeshadow consistency, the formula, is a little better in this palette, and this is like the deepest bronzer I think out of all 5 instant look in a palettes she's come out with. So I actually really love this palette as well to just take along for the ride if I'm traveling. You have all your shades here. You have an eyeshadow look, you have the blush, you have the bronzer, and the highlight. The highlight, I know, looks pretty icy and bright on camera, but it actually applies really beautifully soft. It's not like a powwow highlight that you find in her Bar of Gold palette. Not as much shine, but still you have the radiance and just like that soft focus effect that I feel is definitely delivered with this highlight. So I sometimes apply this and then I'll go in with, like, for instance, if I wanted to layer my bronzers, I'll go in with the Charlotte bronzer first in the palette, and then I'll go in with like the Fenty bronzer. Actually, I would recommend, scratch that, because there's a little bit of radiance, the finish is a little more radiant than your typical matte bronzer in this palette. I would go in with a matte bronzer first and then go in with that one, so then the sheen could layer on top and just create more of a radiant finish if you feel the matte powders are a little too drying on the skin. Again, you do not have to buy all this makeup. You do not need to apply 2 bronzers. If you're in a little bit of a panic because you have all this makeup and you're trying to use it, I'm just suggesting these strategies so we could use as many makeup items as we can in a way that's not going to make us look clownish and crazy, but you know what I mean. Bronzer is on, highlighter is on. Blush. My most recent favorite, and also highly recommended for this holiday bonus event sale. Hello, Rouse. What are you doing? The Tom Ford glow sticks. I picked up McGrath first. This is the more pinky tone blush that I fell hard in love with, but fell even harder for Courchevel. This is the berry tone highlighter. So what I like to do, I take my sponge and just pull it over the stick, and then I just pat it down like in between everything. I just saw Wayne's video about this and he was like, don't do it, you're gonna look crazy. I know. I definitely picked up too. Oh, I know what happened. So make sure you wipe off your sponge because the glow impact powder texture mixed up with the stick. So I got a little bit of, you know, casualty there. If you want to keep it very simple, I just take one of my fingers and gently pat that down. If you would do this Wayne's way, you would pick either a blush or a bronzer and not both, because I agree sometimes it could look very heavy on the apples of your cheeks. It could look a little disconnected, like you have all this bronze action here and then all of a sudden you have like a circle of blush on your cheeks. So I understand this is not the most flattering placement of makeup, but really this is just for demonstrating and you making a decision based on what you see on camera in terms of the tone of these shades. So what do? We have all this makeup on. I'm looking a little clownish. That's when you take your makeup sponge. Make sure you take a side of it that doesn't have additional product on there. So when you pat it down on your face, it's going to just help blend the pigment better into the skin and perhaps take away a little bit at the same time. So this is Courchevel, which I love. The tone of it is just so beautifully perfect. And the highlighter side, forget it. I love this highlighter. I know I have a bunch of stuff on. Also highly recommended for the highlighting category. Easily could be applied with fingers. You could apply this on top of the Hollywood Flawless Filter. You could apply this under the Bar of Gold palette, the Tan Bronze and Glow. The most blingy highlighter out of my recommendations list is the Milk Makeup Flex highlighter. This is in the shade Lit. This is something I would apply on damp skin and will pat down with, because this has a little bit of like, not texture, but it has more prominent particles in here that I feel, again, are best applied just pat down with the brush. So if we wanted to, for instance, take our Fix Plus, which I don't have, excuse me, we take a little bit of the Flex, not like this. You're gonna focus on me? Pat down right on the highest point of the cheekbone. And I feel this is the best way to apply this type of highlighter. You could even use a smaller brush so you have more of a precise placement of color. But look at that. I mean, this is bright. So definitely recommend if you're into like that bling bling highlighter. The Flex highlighter has 4 shades in the line. I particularly love Lit. because it's a little icy, but I don't mind it. The other color that was more golden tone, I think shows up a little yellow on my skin. So that's why I opted for lit. So definitely highly recommend the Milk Highlighter. For brows, no other than the Benefit Goof Brow Pencil in 3.5. Oh, what was I doing? FedEx just came and I got distracted. Oh yes, brows. I haven't been using anything else. It's just my go-to pencil. Sometimes I'll go in with the Gimme Brow in 3. I find that's great hold and it fluffs them out a little bit. But that's the extent of it, which I would have in this video, but I left it in my backpack outside my door, and that's where it's staying. Whew, look at these brows, done! And fast. You know, friends, I don't have time to just make these architectural brows, you know what I mean? The other concealer that I recommend, and I'm actually going to put this in the eye primer category, is the Born This Way from Too Faced Multi-Use Concealer in Natural Beige, and also the ABH Eye Primer. This is significantly lighter than my skin color, but I find that if you're using very punchy, bold types of eyeshadow powders, then this is highly recommended. Because we're going in with a lower key look today, I will then use just the Too Faced, and I love how this dries down. Sometimes I even use just a little bit under the eyes if I want that extra bit of brightness, but I appreciate the consistency of this formula in terms of it dries down just enough to leave behind a tackiness that's beneficial for shadows to stick to but still blend well on top of. Oh man, are you ready for the eyeshadow palette recommendation portion of this video? I didn't think you were. Eyeshadow palettes, where do I begin? Hold on, let me cut down this exposure. I'm looking a little too light. This is, hold on, Viseart. All 3 of their Grand Pro palettes. Grand Pro 1 is all neutrals, all mattes, 30 shades that are categorized by tone. You have something for your brows, for your face, for even your lips. So these are pigment palettes that could be used on all portions of your face. The most recent addition to the Grand Pro collection is their Brights curation. So these shades are just outstandingly beautiful on their own, together. Like, you could combine these in several different ways. And then of course Volume 1, like I mentioned first, is more like a fundamentals palette, so as you see, not as bright as the Volume 3. Volume 2 at the time were 6 new textures that were introduced to the Viseart formula family, and you have glitter topper shades, you have metallic, you have shimmer, you have crystal toppers, so you have everything in this palette. Now, while I understand very beautiful, very overwhelming for just your basic makeup user, if you just need the bare essentials and you're not pro, you're not super makeup enthusiast, leave these alone. I know it's tempting that you get the 20% off or 15% off a higher priced item, but if you're not going to use it extensively, then it doesn't make sense to even buy with the discount, you know what I mean? So yes, they're beautiful, but they're not necessarily, if they're not going to be used wholeheartedly and thoroughly. The other palettes that I would recommend that maybe take a look at are their smaller edit palettes. These are a lot more curated, a lot smaller than their Grand. Oh no, I just realized that one of them broke. No, get in. Be careful because these shimmers are very delicate. So my little red one got knocked around. I have to be careful. You can't knock around these palettes, Alicia. So you have a mixture of matte and shimmer, and I just particularly love Viseart's matte formula. It is so incredibly smooth, easy to blend, easy to layer. You will not get muddiness. You will not get patchiness. The way they layer and blend and perform is just so noteworthy, and that's why I highly recommend Viseart eyeshadows. That was their warm edit palette, and the other two in the fam are the rosé edit palette, which I particularly love because this is so unexpectedly, elegantly soft and sophisticated. Like, you think you're not going to get an impactful look, but you do. It's like the way these are formulated allows for that soft pink eye to just, that didn't sound right, coral eye to still show, but in a way that's subdued and just gorgeously beautiful. And of course, dark edit is just, it has a lot of impact. The mattes here are beautifully rich, and the way they layer and create other shades if within the same similar color story is just extraordinary. And I love the tones of these metallics. They pair beautifully well with all the mattes in here. You could have a ball coming up with different combinations, and the fact that they're tiny, 16 shadows at your disposal and not having to take up a load of space in your makeup bag. if you're in between and you're taking a look at the 12 panner, I have to highly recommend the Milieu 2 Neutral Matte 2 or the Koi palette. The Koi palette has all of a shimmer metallic finish. You got some duochromes in here. The palette as well as the Grand Pro and Edit palettes are all magnetic. So if you have similar palettes, you can mix and match. You can customize your own palette. This is the Milieu Neutral Mattes 2. Like, you see what I'm saying? So good. This shade, it looks magenta in the pan, it's gonna look magenta on your lid. This is what you can expect from using a Viseart matte. The consistency of the formula, the assurance that you're gonna have that same color payoff and richness you see in pan, you're gonna have on your lid when you blend it out. Absolutely. Other eyeshadow palettes, of course, the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This is her new midi-sized pan. They are a little smaller than the ones found in Sunrise, but bigger than the ones found in her mini. This is an outrageously beautiful color story, but again, it is $128 despite the discount. If you're gonna take full advantage of all these shadows and the colors, the shades that they provide, go for it. One noteworthy thing to mention is that Natasha features her cream to matte formula in here that is hard to see on camera and in photos. I feel people assume that you're just getting matte and shimmer and metallic. No, you're not. Lethal is a standout cream to powder shade, so it feels very soft and moussey in pan, but the vehicle through which the pigments are delivered is just so beautifully seamless and easy to apply on your lid that it just makes it really easy for someone who's not comfortable blending out eyeshadow to make happen. The other Natasha Denona palette I highly recommend is her mini gold. Between mini gold and mini nude, I think those are the best. She also has the mini Lila, the mini Star, the mini Sunset. Although I don't have those palettes, I feel overall from those who have experienced all minis found that the gold and the nude are the best. They're the most consistent in terms of the formulas included in these palettes. Definitely small and $25 for 5 shades. So still a little expensive because you don't get a whole ton of product in here, but $25 is a lot better than $128, even after the discount. The olive shade, for instance, look how beautiful that is. And you see that even if you get Metropolis and you feel if the olive in Metropolis looks like the one in gold, it doesn't. You could apply these together and they can make a beautiful gradient of green on your lid and crease. This shade right here, you've got to be kidding me. Stop it. I love this palette. Despite there only being 5 shades, I feel you could get a lot out of it. You could get something more daily friendly if you just stick with the neutral shade. You could really pop off with the olive matte and any of these metallic shades. This one's more like a metallic matte hybrid, but it could give really nice smoke across the lid. You could pop off with one of these shades on the lid for that sparkle and dazzle. Love this palette. Another one I have to mention is the one that I unexpectedly didn't think I was gonna love is the Urban Decay Honey palette. These shades are gorgeous, outrageously so. Like the yellow browns and the tones in these palette, I just so unexpectedly blew me away. And also the formula I feel is a touch better than the previous Naked palettes that have been released by Urban Decay. Despite there being an apparent theme of honey, yellow browns, you can still get varied looks from this palette. I feel it's very easy to use, very easy to layer. I love the shades. Maybe we'll use it today in the demo. Of course, I have to recommend Jackie Aina's palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I feel Jackie did an amazing job including shades that would just show up better on deeper, richer skin tones. And the curation is marvelous. You have loads of different opportunity here to be more neutral friendly, to pop off with some color, to go in between. I love that she included like pinks and maroon types of mattes for the crease, as well as your neutral shades to hold them down. And then you have these lovely metallic tones that again pop off with purple and the reds, but then you got a duochrome here. You have something a little more sultry but beautifully shiny at the same time. And of course the palette design, you can't get better than Unicorn Skin. Come on. This is like the best. Highly recommend that. And we cannot finish this conversation without mentioning Mama Pat. The quads are in another box. Let me get it. Spoiler alert, these are going to be included in my favorites video, but I definitely recommend the holiday quads from her Obsessive Opulence collection, holiday 2019. All three of them are gorgeous. Absolutely. But you don't need all three of them. I think you have to kind of choose how you're gonna go. Keep in mind, again, the Astral Quads houses Pat's special formulas. Her special formula are usually the last 4 shadows in her 10 pan mothership eyeshadow palette. You got the Blitz formula, you got like the 00, the 3 number formula, like an Astral formula, as well as, oh, and the VR. So you got VR, Blitz, 000 or triple number whatever, and Astral. So out of those 4, depending on the quad, you get like 3 of them, 2 of them, or 4 of them. This is my favorite. I know Ritualistic Rose, I feel, is everyone else's favorite, but this, I feel, is just a beautiful curation of shades. You could use this as supplementary. If you don't want to exclusively use these shades for one eye look, you could use one of the shades to just apply on your lid, on your inner corner or lower lash line to really make that dazzle and shine pop off and add character to your eye look. For iconic illumination, it's a little more low-key, but it still has a lot of punch. Bordeaux. And then this all over the lid, Blitz Brown. The Allure Astral Gold or Astral Gold Allure. Like this just by itself or on any gold-like or bronze-like type of lid color will just make it dazzle and gleam like a disco ball. Ritualistic Rose is definitely just, I mean, this shade right here, I cannot. The shine and reflectivity, this is perhaps my most favorite shade out of the bunch. Like, what? The tone is gorgeous. I would say this is definitely the most glittery out of the 2, like our girl Morgan. Hey, Morgan! I think she was right in describing this quad definitely to have a little more texture than the others. I feel the one with the least amount of texture is Nocturnal Nirvana. So if you're looking to just stay away from these types of finishes, because definitely Rose Quartz, I believe this is called, has a little more than the others. This duochrome is hard to capture on camera, but it goes from like lime green to pink. Again, even though I'm recommending all 3, I would not say buy all 3. If you hate purple, then don't get Nocturnal Nirvana. If you don't like Bordeaux wine types of shades, do not get Iconic Illumination. You cannot stand rose colored anything, do not get Ritualistic Rose. If you like all those colors, then I can't help you. I'm sorry. That is so mean. In terms of the Big Mama 10 shade mothership palettes, I feel I'm in the minority. I would get Midnight Sun. I would. I think Midnight Sun is just the curation, the inspiration, the overall presentation. Like, you can use a Pat McGrath 10 shade mothership palette every day and not feel you look too out there. Bronze Seduction, I recommend. Obviously, Bronze Seduction is just otherworldly. But if you feel like Fire Opal and, well, Bronze Eclipse is in here, but those other glittery shades are a little too much, or if you feel like the 3 mattes in there it's just far too much punch for a daily look and you have to pair it with another shade to dive it down a little bit. This just allows for more opportunity, I feel, to wear on more varied occasions. You have the Blitz formula, you have the 005 formula, you have the matte formula, you have the metallic formula. Wicked Envy. Wicked Envy. Are you kidding? Stop it. You can't see it on camera, but Wicked Envy has golden speckles in here that when seen under a spotlight or flashlight, the olive base comes through, but then the gold flickers. Please. If it wasn't because Subversive was my favorite, because that was the first Mama Pat palette I ever purchased, Midnight Sun would be my favorite. I'm gonna be in the minority here. So if you're on the fence, if you want punch and dazzle and color richness and just impact, get Bronze Seduction. You will not be disappointed because the inclusion of those duochrome topper shades will just set it off. Set it off with whatever you apply those on. My other favorite is Subversive. Subversive, like, look at just this wide spectrum of opportunity here. Night Creature matches my nail, whoop whoop. But besides the point, this color is just so iconic for Pat McGrath in terms of the finish, the shade, the mood. Oh, it is so beautiful. Gigabyte, one of her most standout finishes and shades. It is like a brassy type of moment, like, oh my goodness, all over the lid or under the lash line. And when the dim light hits, Dazzle City, Lazarus, all over the lid, beautifully rich brown. Oh, it's like chocolate brown. And then of course you have VR pink that you could put on top of Night Creature to just make it light and just. Oh, since we are still on the topic of eyeshadow, I forgot when speaking about Viseart that I also highly recommend their Petite Pros, their mini 8-pan palettes. I know I still have the boxes because I just love the boxes. And they're easy to store in them. I might do the same with my edits. I can't continue without mentioning the most recent Soleil Neige Tom Ford quads. I said Soleil Neige was winter sun in the video. It's actually sun snow. Neige is snow in French, but actually Soleil Neige, the concept is like the sun glittering on the snow. But in French, thank you Lady Zaza, it's really supposed to be Soleil sur la neige, which is like sun on the snow. I guess the Tom Ford beauty team was like, not gonna print all of that on the perfume bottle label, so it'll just be Soleil Neige. But funny, that's not actually in the French language. Like, that phrase doesn't exist. They just put those two French words together. Anyway, I just keep them in the boxes because, yeah, I have a video where I demo all 3 quads. I would recommend the pots, but I feel like I'm just recommending so much stuff already. I feel bad recommending more. But yes, the 2 pots are gorgeous as well. I demo those in the video too. The Soleil et Lune is the one with the mint. The Soleil d'Hiver is the bronze, and the Soleil Neige is the one with the navy. I extensively go through these quads in terms of what I think about the color story, which one will be good for said user. So you kind of have to decide which one you're gonna love the most, which one you're gonna use the most. I realized that I cut myself off. I was talking about toppers, but my memory card got full, so I had to do a little switchy switch. I highly recommend the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize pots. I think this is one of the best formulated moussey eye cream pot formulas. They apply well with the finger, with a brush, whether it be synthetic or natural. You could wear these by themselves, you could sheer them out so they could just leave behind a nice sheer veil of color and shine, or you could pack them on and further then apply more on the mousse so it could just look brighter and more impactful on the lid. The way these blend on and around powder products is outstandingly noteworthy. They don't get clumpy on the skin, they don't look textured, they don't look heavy, they don't become patchy or hard to work with. They just seamlessly glide with whatever texture you introduce to them and work with it. And I feel these are particularly easy to use and ideal for makeup users who are beginners or who just want to dive into different textures other than powder. This is in rose gold, which I think if you're into rosy pink shades, this is ideal. I have star gold. I also have Vrushka, which I think might be discontinued. I don't know how I was able to grab this from Bloomies, but it happened. The other shades Sephora has, I believe, are Marie Antoinette, Bette, Mona Lisa, Jean. All those shades are outrageously gorgeous. And also with so much Charlotte Tilbury. Highly recommend her Icon palette. This was definitely one of my most favorite palettes from her line. These 2 textures, these are the only like matte types of formulas in this palette, but they're so easy to use. They blend like skin, and I feel it's just ideal to use if you're not used to blending out traditional powder mattes. These shades can be layered, so this is what I like to do. I like to layer that powder shade on top of the Eyes to Mesmerize, and it will allow the powder finish to last longer on the lid, because that is one con for Charlotte Tilbury. I find that they're not as long lasting as Pat or Natasha Denona, but man, when you layer them, they last and the shine is beautiful. Also a part of her holiday collection for this year is the Eyes to Hypnotize trio palette. This is not necessary, but if you don't have any Charlotte Tilbury quads or eyeshadow or whatever, I think this is one of the more comprehensive holiday palettes she has presented this year, because you have 4 distinct eye looks. You have the olive, which I feel people grab this for because the olive shades in here are beautiful. You got the one that's more exclusively olive toned, and then you have one that's more on the grayer side but just serves as a beautiful lid color or even inner corner highlight. But then you have your roses, your champagnes, your bronzes. If you want to smoke it up, this shade, the silver, so freaking shiny. I love. If you could get 20% off 75, I think this is worth getting and looking into. Again, if you're new to Charlotte Tilbury and you want a little bit of everything in terms of the different textures she has to offer from her collection. The quads are going to have like those pop shades that are a little more of a veil of shine and dazzle. Those textures, I believe, don't exist in this palette, but I think they just exist in the quads. Other pop formulas I highly recommend. I know I just went all over the place just now. The Hourglass Scattered Light Glitter Shadow. This is in the shade Vivid. I believe if you just like an easy peasy application of just dazzle, this is going to be the formula for you. It's very lightweight, creamy, not heavy at all. If you have the Charlotte Tilbury and you want to put Vivid on top of the olive shade to maybe make it pop off even more, you can do that. It has beautiful sparkle without feeling heavy or glittery on the lid. But if you want a little more punch, then I will highly recommend the Marc Jacobs Sequins pots. These have a little more pigment than the Hourglass, a lot more punch. This is in Blitz Glitz, the newer shades for his holiday collection. Oh my god, like look at that. All over the lid. You could put that by itself. You could put that on top of another purpley metallic to really make it shine and come forward. So those are the 3 pot formulas that I've been using extensively. The Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize, the Hourglass Scattered Light, and the Marc Jacobs Sequins pots. Now I realized that I skipped over a couple of things because I'm just so overwhelmed. The one item that I did not yet review but kind of recommend because I kind of love it is the NARS, what is this? The Feel Lover. Free Lover, can't read, from their Studio 54 holiday collection. Quite frankly, I think this is the only piece in the collection worth taking a look at. This shade right here, this shade is called Disco Nights, is a shade exclusive to the palette. It does not exist as a single. Final Cut is a re-promote. It was discontinued as a single but brought back in this palette. Luster already exists, but funny enough, Daniel, hey Daniel, he was the NARS rep at the time this was in stores, and he said that he prefers the color of Luster in the single but prefers the finish of the powder in this pan. So although they're supposed to be the same, the luster in the single actually is a little deeper in color, which is funny. It's really funny. Here is Disco Nights. This is so beautifully smooth. It's not like Hot Sands. Hot Sands has a little more texture to it, so Disco Nights I think is a smoother formula. Crave I believe is exclusive to the palette. Amor already exists, as well as Is Loves Me? I forgot what he said. One of these are re-promotes and the other is an exclusive to the palette. I love this palette. I love the top, like this gold sparkle that although textured is not gonna flake off, like is really wedged in there well. So if you're looking at the Studio 54 collection and you're a little overwhelmed because there's so many pieces in that collection, you got lip gloss sets, you got lipstick sets, you got brush sets, I would just take a look at the blush palette. I know they have eyeshadow palettes, but quite frankly, I was not really impressed by them. I tried one in store, I just swatched it, and the glitter shades I felt were not even worth buying because I didn't think they performed that well. And the rest of the shades in there I felt weren't inspiring enough for me to drop like however much it costs. But I could get down with the blush palette, absolutely. And since this is limited edition for a holiday and this packaging is gorgeous, if you want a review on this, I will most certainly film one. Extensive swatches, in-depth demos. We'll get into it, friends. We have not done our eyes yet because I am still deciding on what to apply on these lids. I'm going with Midnight Sun because she's my favorite. That's it. Taboo in my reference number 15. Taboo, I feel, is one of the lightest mattes that exists in Pat's matte collection. Taking a fluffier brush, this is my Wing Goss. Number 3, Vermilion Venom. I actually got a new palette sent to me because I felt the mattes were quite hard pressed, and I was watching everyone else's video, and Vermilion Venom went on so rich on the first application. Like, that's not what happened with the previous palette I had. Extreme Dusk with my reference number 2. On top of Taboo, give a little bit of more intensity. I love that Extreme Dusk is like a charcoal brown. It's not exclusively black, and she has 3 black mattes in Subversive, Subliminal, and Sublime. And then in Bronze Seduction, she has the eggplant color, Extreme Aubergine. I love this shade. I think it's this tone on purpose, you know what I mean? Vermilion Venom with the same refer brush, but I'm deepening the outer V with the same shade. This is a technique you use if you want to apply the same color, but to create dimension, you will use a smaller brush, tighter packed bristles, to then create that intensity, because it's going to put on more color. Taking that a little bit on the lash line. Taboo under the lash line on this eye. Little bit of Extreme Dusk on the outer lower V. Zona G, build a 3. Wicked Envy on the lid of this eye. Oh, every time I use this palette, I'm like, why don't I use it more? Because you got to stop buying so much makeup so you can use the makeup you already have, Alicia. This is the conversation I have with myself every day. We're gonna put on the inner lid, friends. Let's do it. Jubilee. I think it looks beautifully gorgeous on top of Wicked Envy. Oh, yes, without a doubt. Blood Moon 005 is a tricky shade because it has the most texture, I feel, out of the bunch. If you want to eliminate that texture or just the fallout from happening, then I would spritz with the MAC Lip Plus. This is my Zona G, crease 1. I didn't mean to pick this up. I thought it was more like a pencil brush, but it has such a fine point that I thought, you know, let's go with it. That's a lot of fun. Extreme Dusk with that same crease 1 on top of Blood Moon 005 to kind of create that gradient depth. Blending out the edges and pulling it out into that point. Again with my Zona G, build a 3. Blitz, Orchid, Blitz, Violet Orchid, where Vermilion Venom is just an unexpected pairing that blows my mind each and every time I use this. Like, who knew? Who freaking knew? And this is not applied wet, friends. I'm applying it dry. Look at the glow. Taking Bronze Eclipse with the same brush on the inner part of the lower lash line, combining it with the Vermilion Venom that is resting on the outer portion of the lower lash line. Definitely want to take some of the Astral shade on top of the Blitz shade with my finger. I did not pat down a lot, so when dealing with the Astral topper shades from Pat, you gotta go boom, boom, and that's all you need. Don't go digging and swirling around because you're going to pick up too much, and then when you apply it on your lid, yes, the excess will fall on your face. That is what will happen. Skin Show Moon Glow. On the inner corner, I should have used a pencil brush to get a more precise placement of color. I'm so reckless. Smith 253 with the Moon Nude shade just to better spread that out. Ooh, what can we apply here? You know what? I want to do the same. I'm just gonna make this consistent. You know what I'm saying? I know. You can't take it. Y'all stop. I'll stop. Just for kicks, why don't we apply the Hourglass Scattered? Wicked Envy doesn't need this. But if you just wanted to add a little more, this is what the Scattered Light does. It's very easy to work with. You could use your finger, you could use your brush, but the edges of it, when you pat down the rest, it just kind of floats around. Like, I definitely put on too much, so you see the residue. I should have just kept it on the lid. I applied way too much, but it's so good. Just take your blender brush and erase your mistakes. You know, friends, I just love Midnight Sun so much. I can't help it. I will recommend it forever and ever. Recommendation for lips. My lip products that I highly recommend that you check out for this upcoming Sephora holiday sales of my little bed. You know, the Natasha Denona, I need a new. I got 3 shades, Noah, Sammy, and Michelle, all of which that I use extensively and thoroughly. Sammy is like more of a brown hue that I feel if you just want a little more up, that arm is full. If you want more of a brown situation, So that's Sammy, which just maybe on the corners of the lip if you want just a little more richness, or just all over. Noah is like my ultimate taupe nude dream. This shade is just, I love it so much. I think this might be my most favorite out of the three that I have. And if I want a little more lightness to it, Michelle is more of a pinky type of hue. And of course, we can't forget my Hepburn Honey by Miss Charlotte Tilbury. This is in her Kissing lipstick formula, which is more of like a satin finish. This has a little more of like a brown beige hue to it in comparison to Michelle. Michelle comes out real peachy next to Hepburn Honey, but that's why I love Hepburn Honey on its own or on the center of the lip. And of course, to top it all off, we can't forget about Miss Pat McGrath Liquid Lust Lip Glossin'. For real. For real, like on any of these, you can't go wrong. The most perfect beige lip gloss on Sammy, Noah, Michelle, Hepburn Honey. I mean, it'll make it happen. No matter what you apply, no matter what. I'll take Sammy just on the corners of the lip. Which one should we do, friends? You want to do Noah? You want to do Michelle? Let's do Michelle. Let's just see how Michelle looks. That's how Michelle looks in between Sammy. Want a little more versatile chestnut, you could place that on the outer portions of the lip and then go in with Anywhere Caffeine, more on like the Keep-This Veil. Look how pouty I look. You see what I'm saying? And then to top it all off, this by itself, the I Need a Nude formula, is more like a satin. Not completely matte, but it doesn't have like a ton of shine, which I kind of like, because that in-between finish I feel is ideal for every day, but also serves up the opportunity to gloss it up and not feel so heavy on the lip if you want to apply another formula, another type of lip product on. For real, Mama Pat. This is my second tube, by the way. I bought another one during another sale sometime maybe in the summertime. And to finalize everything, why not, let's go in with my Shiseido Radiant Silk Loose Powder. Someone also mentioned that the glow stick, they're getting used to it drying down to a natural finish, not completely matte. I recommend that you take your favorite loose powder if you're not looking to apply a blush powder on top of that, just to set it, and the color will still show through, especially with a powder like this that is very light in texture. I'm going to take my Sonia G Face One and just press on the net, and that's how the product is released, dispensed, and just buff. This powder has a little bit of radiance to it, but it's not going to leave you shiny, dewy, greasy looking. It's going to give you the right amount of set so your makeup won't move but still appear radiant on the skin. It's not going to dry it out. It's not going to make it look overly matte. Just enough set for your skin to still appear brilliant and flawless. And that is the look, friends, using all of my Sephora recommendations for this upcoming holiday bonus sale event. I hope this was helpful, because in light of our girl T, nappy headed hoba, hi Ray Ray, when she explained being duped by these beauty gurus who recommend products that they only recommended because they were paid to do so and they no longer use. I want you to know that everything I recommend, I use myself, and that's how I teach as well. I would never teach anything to my students that I cannot do myself. And I know I just recommended a whole bunch of products. I like to provide options, different types of products, different finishes from different brands, so you just have an opportunity to decide what is best for you. I also know that it's overwhelming, and that was not my intention to make you think that you have to buy everything I recommended in this video, but I also wanted to show that perhaps items that I have not been using recently are still being used and are still in my makeup bag. They're just being rotated, and this is a lesson for myself that if I just stop buying so much makeup, I could probably use those items more often and remember that I have them. So going into the sale, friends, know that you'll buy something that will be used, that will make you happy, and never feel like you have to buy something just because it's on sale. Buy it because you know it's going to bring you joy, you're going to use it, it's going to elevate your makeup routine, and more often make you look forward to doing your makeup. Let me know what your recommendations might be, what you got in the cart already, and until then, friends, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another tutorial, demo, review, or overwhelming shop list. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.